Speaking to the Secretary of Energy, Josh Hawley was questioning why it is that gasoline has skyrocketed so much. The Secretary of Energy says, well, Vladimir Putin, and to which Josh Hawley snaps and says, no, these are the policies of Joe Biden. He goes on to list many of the policies. Re-entered the Paris Climate Accord, canceled the Keystone Pipeline, halted leasing programs in Anwar, issued a 60-day halt on all new oil and gas leases and drilling permits on federal lands and waters, imposing new regulations. He goes on. Josh Hawley points out that just over a year ago, gas in his state was like $2. Now it's like $4. Experts are warning by August, gasoline will average $6 per gallon. Some gas stations are already out of fuel. The Post-Millennial reported, as I did in a previous segment, that some gas stations have added an extra digit to their price charts in anticipation of $10 per gallon plus. Ladies and gentlemen, we are headed towards a major catastrophe. Now, the United States may be okay because we're particularly wealthy. Okay does not mean good. Hardship is coming your way. Sri Lanka, basically out of food, basically out of fuel. So things have turned violent. People are fighting and rioting. They don't know what else to do. I don't believe that rioting is going to secure food for any of the starving people, but a starving person will do whatever it takes to eat. And yes, I hate to break it to you, but there could come a point. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it's probable, but I'm saying it is possible. Humans will eat other humans. Do I think we're at that point? No. I don't know about Sri Lanka. I mean, starving people might do crazy things. I think the U.S. is very far from anything like that. I'm just saying, if it ever really got to that point of complete economic collapse and supply chain disorder to the point it could not recover, starving people will resort to crazy things. They'll be eating rats and rabbits and a whole bunch of other stuff. Now, obviously, cannibalism would be the last thing they do, but I'm just saying, dude, people who are crazy, who are desperate, let me phrase it. People who are desperate and dying, they go crazy. What was that story of, was it the Donner Party? Is that the story of the people who like were in the wilderness and then just like were running out of food so they ate each other or something like that? Yo, I don't know, man. To be real, I don't know if I'd ever resort to something like that. But perhaps we're getting ahead of ourselves. Right now, we're just talking about high gas prices. Okay. Maybe a stretch too far. But looking at what's happening, looking at Sri Lankans running out of fuel and water, Sri Lanka down to last day of petrol 2 days ago. Yo, man, I certainly hope some relief can come, but I think partly it's possible it's a man-made catastrophe. There are news articles that are saying it is a man-made catastrophe, that the practices in farming and distribution and things like that are the cause. I'm saying I think greedy people, ideologically driven people, conflict and crisis, people fighting. I mean, you can call it Putin's war. You can call it failed policy. It is our own doing. The Economist warns the coming food catastrophe. War is tipping a fragile world towards mass hunger. Fixing that is everyone's business. What a cool little piece of art. Sheaths of wheat, but they're skulls instead of groats. Okay, all right, I'll give you that one, except that I think there's still some groats on it, or seeds, or whatever they're called. I think they're called groats, right? Anyway, I want to show you this. Watching Josh Hawley rip to shreds the Secretary of Energy for pushing these Biden administration lies about the problems we are facing. It just felt so good. This is Abigail Marone, who is Josh Hawley's press secretary for Hawley out of Missouri. And when he goes into it, he gets into it, man. Before we get started, though, we're going to do a sponsor spot whenever we talk about this stuff. Head over to safeandreadymeals.com. Pick up your emergency food supply today. Delivery could take, I don't know how long delivery is, maybe like a week or a couple weeks, but I would recommend if you're serious about this stuff, getting emergency food now. Again, safeandreadymeals.com. This is a sponsor spot. Buying from safeandreadymeals.com does help support the work we do here, the show, and all of that stuff. But in all seriousness, this is a legit product. I only do shoutouts for this stuff when there's stories like this. Let me show you. We're not Sri Lanka, okay? We're not. Last day of petrol. People think that we live in this future utopia and everything's going to be fine. It can happen here. Just know that. SafeandReadyMeals.com provides 4-week emergency supplies, 3-week emergency supplies. They last up to 25 years. They're in sealed buckets. They're in sealed packages. You put it in your closet. You forget about it. I often say, look, You got a first aid kit. Many people don't even remember where they put it. How often do you really use it? But you have emergency medical supplies, right? Why wouldn't you have emergency food or water? Considering what's happening now with the Biden administration, what's happening now with inflation, gas prices, shortages, fuel going upwards of $10 a gallon, I think it's a good time to make sure you've got just some emergency supplies. Look, you buy the stuff one time, you put it in your closet, you forget about it. 4 weeks is not a long time. Buying a 4-week supply, you're not a prepper. Sorry, the preppers got way more and they're laughing right now. But sometimes it rains. Sometimes roads get shut down. We've had many people reach out and say, hey, Tim, thanks for shouting this out. You know, they mentioned on Timcast IRL, they were like, we had a power outage and this, you know, we couldn't get to the store. So we cracked these things open and we were good. And we knew we didn't have to worry because we had, you know, between the two of us, a couple of weeks of food. And I'm like, hey, there you go, man. Just have some emergency supplies. My attitude is mostly this: personal responsibility, first and foremost. When it hits the fan, and it might not, okay? But it looks like we're getting dangerously close. Do you want to be asking the government for help? Or do you want to sit back and be like, guys, we've got a plan for the next 3 months because we bought this ahead of time. Not everybody can afford it, I know. I'm just saying, do what you can. Safeandreadymeals.com. Again, it's a sponsored spot. They don't tell me what to say. They just, you know, tell me to shout it out. But I genuinely believe and stand by everything I said. We've got a decent amount here. I always say that. And then everyone says, Tim, don't tell people you have emergency supplies. Whatever, dude. We've got emergency supplies because we take it seriously. Let me play for you this clip of Josh Hawley grilling the Secretary of Energy on the lies.
Secretary Granholm, today in the state of Missouri, the average price of gasoline today, as of this morning, is $4.10. Average price of diesel is $5.18. And I'm sure you've seen the reporting this morning that now AAA is projecting that gas prices will hit a national average of $6 a gallon by the month of August. Is this acceptable to you?
No, it is not. And you can thank the activity of Vladimir Putin for invading Ukraine and pulling essentially those barrels.
With all due respect, Madam Secretary, that's utter nonsense. In January of 2021, the average gas price in my state was $2.07. 8 months later, long before Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, that price was up over 30%, and it has been going up consistently since.
Yes. I'm sorry. I got to pause it. Bravo, Josh Hawley. Just interrupting, saying that is nonsense.
What are you doing to reverse this administration's policies that are drawing down our own supply of energy in this country, that are throttling oil and gas production in the United States of America? What are you doing about it?
With respect, sir, it is not administration policies that have affected supply and demand.
How can you say that when the price of gas was up over 30% from January to... you answer my questions, and it's my time, Madam Secretary, so why don't you answer my question? From January to August, the price of gasoline was up over 30%. In my state alone, it has been a continuous upward tick since then. And here's what your president did when he first came to office. He immediately re-entered the Paris Climate Accord. He canceled the Keystone Pipeline. He halted leasing programs in ANWR. He issued a 60-day halt on all new oil and gas leases and drilling permits on federal lands and waters. That's nationwide. That accounts, by the way, for 25% of U.S. oil production. He directed federal agencies to eliminate all supports for fossil fuels. He imposed new regulations on oil and gas and methane emissions. Those were all just in the first few days. Are you telling me that's had no effect on our energy supply?
Wow. Bravo, Josh Hawley. Said it better than I ever could. And that's why he's the politician. That's why I would not want to be involved in this stuff. But I talk about that all the time. Look, you see what happens when you run out of food and fuel. What's happening in Sri Lanka is bad. Okay, The Economist is warning of all of this stuff. Take a look at this. Experts warn we could see a national average of $6 a gallon by August. Your bank account will be gutted. That's why I'm sorry, man. You know, I mentioned this the other day when we were talking about war. If you go check out the Timcast IRL members only show at timcast.com, you will see me acting particularly untoward. And I apologize for cussing and insulting. It was not one of my finer moments. And, so I'm having a conversation with Libby, Seamus, Elad. And Elad is very much going in favor of war, saying that we're defending democracy. I just lost it, man. I lost it. I was rude. I was insulting. But I got to tell you, man, this is the reason why. This is the reason why. They blame Vladimir Putin when clearly, as Josh Hawley points out, the problems we are facing are not Putin. I want to be fair. It's not just Putin. Putin, of course, is playing a role in this. But the cost of gas was going up well before this. Joe Biden's policies, his executive orders, his policies, they precipitated all of this. So when people are like, we should be involved in Ukraine to the tune of $60 billion, okay, sorry, $54 billion, with American mercenaries and volunteers on the ground, it's just absolutely sickening. This idea that we should be sourcing energy for Europe instead of building out the infrastructure here on our own lands, clearing the way for energy companies to produce, to utilize places like Alaska, which we have, and to develop nuclear energy. Instead, we get nothing. And I can't even count on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her Green New Deal, because instead of proposing X amount of dollars towards wind turbines for energy production, we get free healthcare for marginalized communities and getting rid of planes and farting cows. Now, those were in the FAQ, not the actual resolution. But the actual resolution was like college for marginalized communities. And when I talk to progressives, I'm like, what does that have to do with geothermal energy? What does that have to do with anything? And well, that's who's affected first. I am sick of the lunatics who are proposing we send billions of dollars to Ukraine, a country that is not an ally, that is not a NATO member, that is not an EU member state, all because Europe needs cheaper fuel. Ah, yes, we need cheaper fuel. Great. Good for you, Europe. We got to offset that Gazprom natural gas monopoly. The costs are too high. Here in the United States, we need our own fuel. I don't understand what the logic is by us sending our labor, our tax dollars overseas to the tune of $54 billion. And you know what they say? They say by the U.S. giving out this money, it ensures that the petrodollar remains safe and that, other countries will be using the dollar, which means we get more control in oil. Yo, how about this? It's called energy independence. You think I don't know about these things? I have read much. I don't know everything. There's probably classified information. I'm sure there's some, CIA guy who's sitting back saying, if only you knew, Tim, if only you knew the truth. Maybe that's the case. Okay, fair point. I can only operate off of public information. And the information that I have collected so far says we need domestic production. Not a president who's going to be like, I'm going to shut it down. Makes no sense. Not a progressive wing that's like, we could do wind turbines, but we want free college instead. Green New Deal. So I lost it, man. I am sick of the America last policies. I am not a staunch nationalist. I am not America one and only. No, I believe in international trade. I am not an isolationist. These are all the slurs they say because, Seamus put it well. He was like, am I a shut-in if I don't want to walk out of my house, go to my neighbor's house and punch him in the face? No, of course not. You're not a shut-in because of that. These people who want war, they say, you're an isolationist. How about we have a baby food shortage. We have limited manufacturing because we've given it all away. We don't make our own medicines, our own vitamins. And now when the crisis hits, it's like, oh, help, help. What do we do? I can't stand it. That is the Democrats wrapped up in a nutshell. See me, I'm like emergency food. I should be responsible for myself to the best of my abilities. We do want to be responsible to our community, like meaning, we'll help them when we can, but you got to secure your own oxygen mask before securing the mask of those next to you. We want to pay attention to what's going on in the world. But why are we involving ourselves in Ukraine? Ah, yes. Joe Biden, Burisma, the Qatar-Turkey pipeline, the deep state, whatever. Instead of making ourselves self-reliant and instead of preparing for this catastrophe, Joe Biden and Democrats gut the system and burn it all to the ground. But I'll tell you one thing, $6 a gallon gas in August means one thing. Republicans will sweep. Now, I don't know for sure. There's a lot of variables at play. Who knows what'll happen? But I'm looking at $6 a gallon and I can't believe, let's pull up AAA right here. Look at this. Right now, the highest gas has ever been $4.59 per gallon as of today. New milestone. Absolutely incredible. In California, Nevada, in Oregon, and Washington, gas is over $6. Oh, I'm sorry. It's $4.80 to $6. In some parts of California, we've already seen $7 a gallon, upwards of almost $8 a gallon. And some gas stations, they've added that little zero in front of the first number because they're like, oh, we're going to need double-digit gas prices. It's incredible, man. The nerve of these people to come out and be like, actually, it's Vladimir Putin, and I'm just sick of it. They're doing that because they're psychopathic warmongers. That's really it. Psychopathic warmongers. If the U.S. did not get involved in Ukraine, there would be no war. The Russians would have walked in and it would have been over. NATO got involved because in Europe, I just love the idea. Europe's just like, we need cheap gas. America, spend your money for us. Because that's what we are. We're the world police. Our labor, our hard work for everyone else, not for ourselves. I've been around the world. I know a decent amount. I don't know everything. I've researched this to the best of my abilities. I know I'm critical of those who don't do any research, and perhaps I get a lot wrong here. My understanding is the petrodollar makes us wealthy. It's good for us. My understanding is that our imperialism, or whatever you want to call it, boots on the ground in all these different countries, now in Somalia, make us strong, expand our influence, and we are competing with China. I am just not that person. Now, there's a good point that Elad made the last time we talked. He said he doesn't want to live in a multipolar world. He wants to live in a unipolar world, which means he doesn't like the idea that China and the U.S. compete. He likes the idea that the U.S. dominates everything. I get it. I am of the attitude that you don't get that with the barrel of a gun. I think the U.S. has sacrificed its credibility with failed interventions. And the U.S. could embolden its credibility, especially following World War II and the Cold War, by soft power, which we've done in a lot of ways. But then, when we lose, the United States has a temper tantrum and sends in the troops. Oh, man, did you see? I don't know if I have it pulled up. Oh, I do. Here we go. From timcast.com. George W. Bush draws laughs from the crowd after condemning Putin for brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine. It was glorious. George W. Bush. Where's the quote? The decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine. Oh! Yep. The legacy of this nation. An unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. You know what? I got to play this.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq.
I'm going to pause it right there. I'm not going to let him correct himself because that was truth enough.
I mean, of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway.
I mean, of Ukraine.
75.
Because I'm 75. Yeah. What a slip up. Why were you talking about Iraq? Why did that come to mind? I think he knows. I think he knows absolutely. We have a problem in this country of neocon, neolib elites who are pro-war and would take your money and give it away. And for what? I get it. They're just wrong. They think, as I mentioned, when we give Pakistan $12 million for gender studies, they will use our money, and that's good for us. But it's not. It's just stupid. You are giving away American labor for free. You are driving up inflation. And then when gas hits $6 a gallon, your $15 an hour job ain't going to cut it. And the progressives say, we need a living wage. Now we're seeing McDonald's and other restaurants offer $20 an hour. Did I say a gallon? $15 an hour. $20 an hour. And now, and then what? I hear from these progressives, the government should just print money. The government doesn't just print money. It's not exactly how it works. That's what they think. They think it's just like turn on the printer and money comes out. Money is issued upon the creation of debt. So it's mostly digital. But anyway, that's less relevant. The point is, these progressives think you can money printer go burr. And that's it. They don't realize that means hyperinflation and the economy will stumble and collapse. And we've seen it over and over again. And when you bring up like Venezuela, the response you get is, well, the U.S. did that with the... Oh, yeah, and every other country with hyperinflation. The U.S., the reason Weimar Germany had hyperinflation was because the U.S. went back in time. Please. When governments lose control of their economies and think spending their way, printing their weight of debt is the only solution, it's gone. It is just gone. You are going to see a collapse. Bravo to Josh Hawley, man. That was absolutely epic, dude. Him saying, with all due respect, that is utter nonsense. The cost of gas has been going up from January of 2021 to August, well before Putin's invasion. They're using it as cover. They're using it to cover up their mistakes, and they're using it to justify our money being sent overseas for war. I'm just so tired of these people, man. I can't wait. I just can't. I'm excited for them to just get out. So we'll see. I'm willing to bet the progressives will carry on the legacy of the warmonger class because the squad voted in favor of this military package. Whatever, man. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.